Okay, welcome back. Solo roll Mangging, Tales of Argosa, doing Ironwood Gorge. Yeah, so last time, we made all our 4 characters, and then we did some stuff, and then we lost one of those characters. It's kind of shitty, but an important lesson. Don't send your magic user into melee without any armor. Actually, I think she did have light armor, but yeah, not a big difference, and only 10 HP. And she fumbled twice. I mean, that was really the fucking... That was rough, man. Double fumbles. Yep, here's a fumble. 5 damage. And then the other fumble. Yep. And then he crit. Yeah, on his counterattack. Yeah, it was the 2 fumbles. That was it. Fuck. Anyways. So we're going to make a new character. Before we do that, though, we do get an XP. The rest of us do for defeating significant foes, which we did. And we will take a short rest because Larry wants to heal some more. He did succeed. Good and good. So he's going to recover 2/3 of his lost. He was at 4, right? So 2/3 of 8 damage should be, rounding down, 5? Yeah, 5. If you round down. He recovered 6 because it did half twice. Meaning that they didn't program that in to the way that where you have to do that manually. So, I mean, you could just ignore it and do half twice because it's half and then half more. And maybe that's close enough to count to be fine if you do that sequentially. Because he recovered 6 compared to 5. It's pretty close. I mean, you probably could just let that go. Let's say at 30 HP and I was down... Oh, I don't know, 24. So I'd lost 24. 2/3 of that would be 16. But if I do half and then half, I'd get back 12. And then I'd get back 6, which would be 18. I wonder if that's actually the intention then. Well, that's kind of an even number, I guess, though. So I guess it only really matters if you have an odd number that doesn't divide by 3 easily. Okay, I'm gonna go with that just for my own... Yeah, just do it that way. It's also a lot easier to just calculate at the table rather than trying to figure out what 2/3 is. Just do half and then half of that. So that was that. Scissorin is gonna short rest because he might... Okay, he wanted to get the reroll back, but he didn't. And then Fargran didn't do anything. I forgot to use charge because it didn't actually come up at all. Yeah, so no one else needs a rest. Gloria gets a long rest because she died. So then loot. Technically, each one of these orcs would carry 2d6 electrum pieces. Or just 1d6 gold. And then the captain has 3d6 gold. We could just convert that all to silver and call it a day. But they recommend doing the treasure table. So let's do the treasure table. A single D100 roll on carry loot A generally represents the total spoils of a small group of enemies. Most rolls will generate 0 to 50 silver pieces, with some exceptions up to 120 silver or so. Right, so had we just converted the gold to silver, we'd be getting 4 orcs, so that's 4d6 plus 3d, so 7d6 silver is what we'd get. We'd get 23 silver, which is a pretty average roll there, relatively average. So we'd get 23 silver if we just converted it straight over and made it simple. But instead, we can roll D100 here. That gets us 36, which is copper equal to the sum of the digits on the D100 roll. Copper's equal to the sum of the digits? So 9? Yes, I think that is correct. I'd get 9 copper, which is not even a silver. And that's based on their guidelines for conversion, right? Oh, well, I mean, this is the intent of, like, if you encounter a group of enemies, that's what you'd encounter. You'd roll on that table. Use carry loot A and B for small groups. So, yes, you'd get 9 copper because I kind of low rolled it a little bit. But it's very possible to get nothing. 30% chance of just nothing. But the middle, you know, you're going to get like 5, you're going to get like 10 silver on a sort of middle roll here. But possible to get like 30 silver. So I guess it's very variable. There's not much, there's no curve here really. It's just it's a random D100 chance. Whereas this was 76. It's going to average out to be a right amount of money. Well, let's see here. Say we got 23 silver from this one fight. I mean, let's just say that we got that. And let me look at equipment. What does that really buy us in this game? 23 silver. It would buy us a longsword, for sure. We could buy a longsword. We could buy almost a short bow. You could buy multiple leather armors. Yeah, you can buy most melee weapons. Some javelins, slings. You can buy a shield as well, 20 silver. Compare that to 9 copper, where you can't buy anything. 9 copper, literally not possible to purchase a single thing in the game except like a meal or stuff. So I feel like that's kind of low. I feel like that's kind of low. But I mean, I don't know, they're orcs. Do I like that conversion route, or would I rather just convert this to silver? Because it is very possible on this D100 roll to get 23 silver or more. I mean, if you high roll this, you get like a precious stone worth 100 silver plus a bunch of silver. If you get really high, you roll 3d20 on the B table, which is nuts, because most of these are going to be like 100 silver or some. And even like a 76 roll is going to be like 50 plus silver. So carry loot A table definitely has the potential to do more than 76. Which maxes out at 42 silver. I mean, I guess maybe it's realistic. I don't know. Is it realistic? I guess it's more just like you never know. In this game with the carry tables and stuff, loot tables, you really never know what you're going to get out of killing a pack of enemies. Whereas in old school D&D, it's like, okay, we know that we're always going to get like a little decent amount of silver or gold, I guess, out of it. I don't know. I don't know my thoughts on this. Maybe I'm just upset because I rolled 9 copper, but the fact that you can roll 9 copper and it's just like, fuck this. But I guess either way, you're not getting XP for it. And I don't really need money per se, because we're not anywhere near a town where I can spend it. So I guess maybe it's fine. And we'll live with it for now. We'll take the 9 copper. So we each get 3. And I have to write this down because they have no fucking currency chart, tally, nothing. God. Oh yeah, Scissorin shouldn't have even failed that roll. He gets advantage on dex checks. Fuck. That's right. I forgot he gets advantage on all dex checks. Grrr. Alright, anyways. Okay. Let's make our new character. Now, the new character is coming in at 0 XP, so they will be a little bit behind. I'm annoyed that it was the only female that died, so I guess we're going to make another female. Let's see, D12 for race is going to be human again. Simple, simple, blah, blah, blah. So we need a good human name. Calandra. Human. Background. 6 and 1. That is a busker. +1 charisma and the persuasion skill. Persuasion. +1 charisma. I'll just put that in to remember. And we got background busker. Maybe we go bard then. We'll see. This might be our bard. Because we could end up with a 16 charisma pretty easily. Let's roll our attributes. Execute. Okay. 6 strength. That hurts. 8 dex also hurts. 9 con. 7 in Jesus. And we got our 13 and 15. So no bump ups there. And technically a 10 charisma. All right, let's swap. So will become 9, charisma will become 16. So that was our swap, which means we're on perception, which means that we are doing range shit. So yeah, I kind of hoped for a melee character, but I guess we have 2. So bards can use all ranged weapon. They can use all weapons. They just don't start with a ranged weapon. And this is why you want to use templates. I mean, honestly, I should just spend the next hour and a half making templates for all the classes. It'd probably take a lot longer than that, but I feel like we should just do that. Because what if I don't want to start with a spear and a chain shirt as my bard? What if I want to start, you know, with a short sword or a short bow or, you know, I don't know. All right, anyways. So yeah, we'll obviously want to pick up a bow, and I think these orcs are supposed to have bows, but I forgot, so none of them used it. None of them have short bows. But we do have 10 silver. That's not enough to buy anything. So you'd have to go without a bow. We'd have to use a spear, and we'd have to use it not well. We have a 6 strength, which is fucking brutal, man. And we don't even get an attack bonus at level 1, so that's really rough. So then the big factor, really, of being a bard is Inspire Greatness. So once per level, basically once per battle, I can add 2 to any single roll of my own or somebody else's. So that's if we assume that a 2 will be the factor. And that's really what you're kind of looking at. We also have Silver Tongue, which isn't going to apply much when we're doing this adventure solo. So honestly, I don't know. I mean, we went with the bar, and we went with Charisma, but I may be rethinking that because it's just not so hot. Whereas instead, I don't think we can even, like... So, cultists can use bludgeoning weapons and then any weapons sacred to the cult's ethos. Which is really kind of vague. I mean, I'd certainly make Argona the Star Maiden like the classic kind of cleric. So I don't know if I'd add many, if any, weapons on top of that. Then you have Baal, Lord of Crows, God of Decay, Suffering, Disease, and Death. I'd probably throw swords in there. Yeah, specifically swords. I don't know if I'd throw bows in or anything like that. Because he gets a patron benefit related to melee attacks, so... Yeah, I don't think so. The Iron God. I mean, probably... Yeah, train for you may use all melee weapons or heavy armor. So that's kind of already built in there. But then you have Shenog, Goddess of Night, Darkness, Mystery, Deceit, and Madness. So I'd probably throw in, like, daggers. A bow? I don't know. Maybe if a player wanted to make the argument to me, maybe a short bow I'd allow, because it's kind of a stealth weapon. Soleri, the World Tree. Again, I'd lean towards kind of classic cleric stuff. I don't know exactly what weapons. I guess maybe if you wanted to use a scythe or something, I guess, you know, it's like the harvest god. I might allow that. But definitely no bows or anything. And then Woden, dual-headed god of knowledge, art, wisdom, and justice. Yeah, again, I don't know if I'd allow much else other than bludgeoning weapons on that. So I don't think the cultist almost ever is going to get access to ranged weaponry. Which really leans us towards fighter. If you want to use a bow as your primary thing, you're either looking at fighter or ranger. And if you pick ranger, you have to get a beast companion. And that just kind of bums me out. I don't want your fucking beast companion. Let me bring up a comparison. I know we do this constantly as I just look at all sorts of other games. But let me bring up 13th Age. And let's go with... here, hold on. Is it in here? Yes, it is. Okay. So this is the as far as I know, this is the last playtest that they put out. This is the Gamma Draft for 2nd edition. I don't know if there's been a more recent one. I haven't been following it too closely, but I didn't see anything in my inbox. Right, so this is the Ranger class for 13th Age, 2nd edition so far. They're probably changing this more, but... So, first of all, for gear, you get a melee weapon or 2, a ranged weapon or 2. And that's because you can just have access to 2-weapon fighting right out the gate. And then 13th Age doesn't really care too much about what you're wielding, more or less. It's more just kind of, like, specifically, they don't care. So it's just like, are you carrying a small one-handed weapon, a heavy two-handed weapon, things like that, and that changes your damage, so on and so forth. And then ranged, you know, depending on what you're doing, and there might be penalties depending on your class. So that's all fine and good and fine. That's not really what I want to talk about. I want to talk about class features. So all Rangers get the tracker feature, okay? Good. I mean, yes, that seems pretty core to being a Ranger, is that you are, you know, the Aragorn. Well, Strider, really. Strider, if he was one thing, he was a wilderness man. He was a tracker, you know. He could find things, follow things, all that. Like, okay, that's pretty core to be the Ranger as a classic fantasy class. Then you have 3 types of talent: Hunter, Warrior, and Magician. You get specific bonus bars for each Hunter talent and for each Warrior talent. Hunter talents favor Rangers who fight with bows, making range attacks, but are often useful for Rangers who prefer fighting in melee. Warriors include several talents that matter more in melee, but some are extremely useful for Rangers making melee attacks. And then you have Magician talents, which are kind of their own thing. So you get like Lethal Hunter here. Which basically is just bonus damage that you have to activate before you roll the attack. You got Skirmisher, which gives you a second turn later in the round. Then you get class talents. Okay, this is really the key thing that I want to, you know, and this is all the different talents. So there's Hunters, Warrior, and Magician talents. And you get to pick 3 of these at level 1. And then you get another one at 5, another one at 8. The first one, Animal Companion. There it is. That is one of your optional choices. Then you have Combat Archery. So it allows you to use ranged weapons in melee. Control the Range. Gives you some like melee, you know, movement, footwork kind of abilities. Elemental Nature. You get spells. Flame Blossom, Thunder Strike, Wild Heal, River Teeth. Fey Queen Enchantment. You get a spell from the Sorcerer class. First Strike. First attack roll you make against each enemy during a battle. Crit range expanded by 2. You can take a spell from the Cleric class. You can take Spear Hunter, Spear Warrior. So in fighting with a spear, single javelin, blah, blah, blah. You get a bonus. Sword Warrior. You're better with a sword. Twin Arrows. Which means that when you attack with a ranged weapon that does not need to be reloaded, your default option is to make a double ranged attack. You drop down to like D6s. And if you get an even roll on the D20, regardless of whether you hit or miss, so like 50% of the time, you get a second attack as a free action. 2-weapon technique to make you better with 2 melee weapons. A lot of choices there to really customize your Ranger how you want it to be. Now, yes, most of this very much revolves around combat, and that's because it's 13th age. It's mostly a combat-based game. But Animal Companion was just one choice among many, and many Rangers are not going to pick that Animal Companion. So, yeah, but we're not playing that game, are we? Do I want a second Ranger? Do I want a fighter? Or do I want to just accept that I have... Okay, well, wait a minute. I moved these, right? So this was a 15. We had a 15 will. And then I had technically a 10 charisma. So we could keep the will as being good and then just swap the 13 to strength and call it a day. And then I could still be a cultist. Because cultists actually need a big will. I think that's probably the better route. So we're going to change perception to 6 and go that 13. Still means we have a shitty dex. Not a great con. Terrible perception. But this makes us at least somewhat viable. So we're going to go with that. All because of that fucking beast companion, man. Don't force it on me. I didn't ask for that life. Cultist. Blessing. And then also we get Sacred Lore. Good. And then we get D12. We get 2 of them of our will. So we got 9 and 2. 9 is going to be a spell. But now, like I said, if I was going to do this, since these deities add... I'm pretty sure these benefits are just in place. Yeah, I'm pretty sure these are just in place. So I think we should just pick Argona. Because we may as well be like a classic cleric here. So we're going to try to do all the good cleric-y things. And we have a cool star on our shield. Common phrases, I like that. Alright, so we may roll against will on apothecary checks. And we get Elemental Ward and None Shall Pass added to our list. So what I'm going to do then is, since we rolled a 9, we're in the Spell Like Blessings section. So now I'm going to roll a d8. So 7 will be Elemental Ward, 8 will be None Shall Pass. We got a 4, so that is Pierce the Veil. There's a spell. What's a spell like Blessing? I think we're just going to add it as a spell. That's probably the easiest way to do it. So, Pierce the Veil. We also got 2. We got Holy Smite. Excellent. Excellent. Oh, there's Pierce the Veil. You can just add that. So you do have some spells in here. The fuck? Perceive magic, spirit forms, and discern type of magic. You perceive the visual, oral, and olfactory auras of magic and spirit forms, including invisible targets within far range. You also discern the kind of magic involved, and identify any physical veil echoes such as temperature drops, spectral winds, clinging vapors, etc. Illusions are not ordinarily detected. Part of their magic includes fooling detection spells of this kind. But on a great success, you can identify and see through illusions. Pierce the Veil is blocked by a thin sheet of lead or stone, earth, or wood more than 1 foot thick. Perceive visual, oral, and olfactory auras of magic and spirit forms, including invisible targets. Okay, I feel like it's kind of meant to be invisible shit that we're looking for. But it has to be magic or spirit stuff. And then we got... what did we get? Holy Smite. Yes, good. Which they're counting as a spell, really? Instead of just an ability? I guess. It's not a spell. But, unless noted otherwise, attempting to invoke a blessing is similar to casting a spell. Generally requires an action, possibly a will check. Okay. So, when you want a Holy Smite, you say, I'm doing Holy Smite. That doesn't involve a will check, I don't think. And unless you... if you don't have favor, you have to do dark and dangerous magic. So actually, I don't think it involves this at all. I mean, it's not going to be a check. It wouldn't be a check, right? Why would it be a check? That would be so stupid. Some of these maybe are a check, but... I mean, obviously all the spell-like blessings are checks. This could be much clearer. Don't put just that, possibly a will check. I don't know. I don't know what to make of that. I don't know, I wouldn't make Holy Smite require jack shit, because you can only use it, like, once per battle at level 1, and it's like, it's not that big of a deal. You still have to hit an enemy, and instead of rolling damage, you cause max damage. So instead of rolling a d8, we just do 9 damage, which is good, but it's not, like, insane. And failing the will check is just like, come on. So that's that. And we also get, from more skills, we get Apothecary, Divine Lore, and we roll a few times here. We get Detection, Persuasion, which we already have, so I have to reroll. Reroll. We get Arcane Lore. And 8 is Watercraft? Watercraft? Oh, navigating. Oh, yeah, okay. Ships. Ship stuff. Done and done on that. And then I think it's mostly just gear. Also 2 rerolls because we're an awesome human. And we can increase an attribute by 1. Do we want to bump up? If we bump up con by 1, that's another hit point. But wait a minute, this is gonna... Oh, it's still not. So no, nothing's gonna give us anything. Except that will remove the dex penalty. So that's what we're doing. Okay, bump up dex. Alright, good. That is all good. That is all good. So equipment, we get a heavy mace and a chain shirt and a holy symbol. Yeah, I'm sure the holy symbol is going to be in here. Mace, heavy. We don't get a shield. What the fuck, man? And I can't even buy one. They don't give me enough money to buy one. You are strapped for cash. Well, at least we get medium armor. So we got an AC 13 without a shield. And, yeah, the holy symbol and stuff. Bedroll, no holy symbol, rations, torches. I have to edit because of your bullshit. And the stupid tinderbox. And we are done. We have Calandra ready to go. All right. And she shows up and joins the party, and we move on. Because that's how we do things. All right. Continuing on Ironwood Gorge. That was like the first day. So now we have to do the first night. Yeah, we have to do first night. And it's just consult the bones, really. I mean, I'll do this one more time. I just don't care for it too much. Okay, so we got yes and no, and then misfortune. We already have misfortune for tomorrow. That's why we lost a watch. I think if there's a tie or something on the bone rolling, Rolling Bones. Yeah, Judgment is tiebreaker and trumps the Fate die. Ignore the Fate die. So yes, we do get another encounter during the night. And there's Misfortune. This is rough going, man. This is really shitty. So our Misfortune... Favorable... So the terrain changes... Okay, I'm just ignoring that shit. Got the same exact result. Can't get any muddier and muckier, man. Alright, and so now we're going to roll a travel event. And it's going to be D12 plus 8 because mostly that's creatures. So we got a 13. The opportunity to take a shortcut arises if the party can find it. Oh no, maybe we're rolling on these other random encounters? Am I supposed to roll on this? I think I'm supposed to roll on this. Oh no, we don't need to roll on this. This is a random encounter. This is not a travel event. So that's not what I was supposed to roll on. I was supposed to roll on like this forest table, or in our case, this, which are all fucking encounters. So we're rolling 2d6 on this table, which is 10. And that's going to be cockatrices. Whoo boy. Okay, Cockatrices in the Night. Sounds like a great album. Yeah, well, it's not good. Despite the funny jokes. Not much of a joke going on here. We have a Cockatrice here. AC 13, 4 fucking hit dice enemies. 1d6 damage, and you have to make a luck con save or be petrified in 1d4 rounds. So, save or be petrified. There's no real funny business about it. So, shit, man. I mean, they are easier than the Labyrinth Lord Cockatrice here, but yeah, we get D4 of them. 3 Cockatrices. This is where you kind of like just run. I think you just run through the night and hope that you all get away. So I feel like whatever the encounter, whatever we roll for what the encounter is here, we're going to be doing a party retreat. And we just grab our shit and go. I think we leave some food behind. Let's all leave 1 ration worth of food behind, to be fair. But see this, this is D&D. Oh, I didn't add Larry's shit. Whoops. Can I just copy this over? Perfect. This is D&D, man. Because this is like, okay, yeah, you see this coming in the night, and you just fucking book it. Because you're terrified of the enemy. Now, it's a little metagaming, of course, but we were warned about these creatures explicitly by the Seneschal. Whereas if this were 5th edition D&D, and we look at the Cockatrice here, they're a challenge 1/2. Armor class 11, 27 hit points. They do a bite attack, 1d4 damage. Target must succeed on a DC 11 con saving throw If they fail, they begin to turn to stone and are restrained, and then they repeat the saving throw at the end of their next turn. If they fail that second one, they're petrified for 24 hours. Now, that is not a creature that your party will be like, oh god, we gotta run, get the fuck out of here. That's just a party, that's an enemy that your party's just gonna put to the sword like everything else. So, you know, it kind of depends on your group. Not everyone is gonna like a game where they either have to run away from an enemy or be really smart or get hit and be petrified and you're dead. Not everyone's gonna go for that. But it's probably worth giving it a try if all you've ever done is something like 5th edition D&D. Right, so we still have to make the luck roll to see if we get away. But because we all gave up a day's worth of food, and there's only 3 cockatrices, I think we can roll our luck roll with advantage. So they're just going to roll pure luck. Advantage, success, so it ticked luck down by 1. Calandra, this is her first thing that she's doing with this group. Success. So we just need one of these 2 to succeed and we get away. Terrible failure. Success. Okay, so we did get away. Depending on the circumstances, fleeing may lead to a chase. I think in this case specifically it does not. And I don't think there's any penalty for a terrible failure here, as long as the group succeeded. If it's half success, half fail, then it might be swayed one way or the other by a great success or terrible failure. Or require a failing PC to make a luck save for the group to pass. It depends. But yes, we're okay. And we run off into the night. Which is kind of problematic, because I assume we left, like, our bedrolls there. So now we're going to have to camp without bedrolls. And in that case, I think we don't recover any hit points, which only matters to Larry. But yeah, I think it's just barely a night of sleep, really. Okay. And then the next day we'll sneak back and get our bedrolls so we don't lose those. But now we continue on a new day. Remember, we're going to have to go around the muck or whatever because of that bullshit misfortune. So we're only 2 watches in. We only have 2 watches today. We're moving 6 miles. But yesterday we moved 18 because of that nice, great success on the guide. So after this, we'll be 24 miles in. We're going to be pretty simple. Scissorin guiding, Fargrin lookout, Calandra, I guess foraging, although her rolls are disastrous. Yeah, she has to roll 7 or under on fucking intellect. She's not nearly as good. But there's nothing based on willpower or anything. She's just useless. But she doesn't really want to go ahead or go behind. So I don't know what it is. I don't know what she really does. I guess she could be the quartermaster. And reduce the chance of a night encounter. Okay. Yeah, she'll be quartermaster. Larry will forage, Fargrin lookout, Scissorin guide, and we go on. So Scissorin guiding us with wilderness lore. +1 because it's wilderness lore. Terrible fucking failure. And he does not have a reroll, specifically because we already did this. We already wasted our reroll. So There's no penalty for a terrible failure, but certainly a failure. He shouldn't have really been the one to do that. We should have let Larry guide today. Wilderness Lore is only good. Having the seal is only good, really, for the reroll. So basically, Scissorin was rolling against a 9 compared to Larry's 16. There's no reason Scissorin should have been guiding. Yeah. Fuck, I just want to get to the gorge, goddammit. And now we have to consult the bones to find out if we wander into a random hex. Okay, so do we wander into a random hex is our question of the day. And we're consulting the bones. And the answer is yes. Because that's yes, yes, no. So, yeah, we do wander into a random hex, and now I have to determine the direction. So let me think. Let's say we're just heading straight north currently, so... Okay, yeah. Alright, so we head northwest now. Basically, we've added, like, an extra watch time onto our number that we need. Just an easier way of thinking of it all, I suppose. This is how many watches it takes to get to our destination. And I think I said 3 days total for 40 miles, because we're moving essentially 9 miles a day. So that doesn't seem right. Was it really 3 days? I think it's more than that, really. So let's just say a total of 10 watches is what we needed, and now we need a total of 11 watches. And we've done a total now of 6. All right. It'd be pretty easy just to sketch that down on a piece of paper. Yeah, it's just the easiest way to think of it. But I don't know if that's really by the rules. Because technically it's 2 watches to move into a hex containing forest. Which means that on an average day, you can move 1 hex. And then that's it. Like, you waste a watch. There is nothing you can do on a watch except explore your current hex. It doesn't make any sense. It's sort of a weird, abstracted system. By and large, I don't think I'd follow this at all. This whole watch system of travel and how it's broken down and everything. Like, I don't know why it needs to be weird like this. Just have a movement rate and then divide it based on different terrain and stuff. Like we've done for decades. Like, it's pretty simple. I do like the travel roll concept, though. I think that's a little fun. Everyone can contribute in kind of their own class way and character way. The weather system is dumb, and I would never use it. And then the actual travel event concept, I think, is relatively decent. Because it does allow for some fun encounters. But it's also kind of... I feel like if we played Tales of Argosa in a campaign for 2 years in a hex crawl, like, this is going to start to get a little ridiculous. But I suppose... But it's like, how many natural wonders are you going to encounter? And then you have to come up with, like, new lore. It's like, oh shit, I gotta have new lore on hand for when they ask. Or you're just finding, you know, overwhelming number of orcs all over the place. You know, there's some oddities. But anyways. I'm trying to run the game as written, so we get a good appreciation for it. The ins and outs. Where was I? Right, so we went northwest. So we added an extra watch required to get to the destination. Then we have the forager, which was Larry, I believe. So he's just going to roll an int. Great success. So we got 2 rations worth of food. And then we're rolling... Technically, the quartermaster is afterwards when we make camp, but I'm going to go ahead and do it now. Charisma, normal, terrible failure. That means that the party falls into discord. The camp is a magnet for bugs, cold winds, etc. Rest is poor, and all PCs must make a con check or be fatigued. Awesome. Yeah. So that's good. And then now we have to consult the bones to see if a travel event occurs. It says if there has already been an event today, skip this step. But when would you consult this twice in one day? This is after the day shift and before the night shift. Unless this is meant to be like... I don't know when you would ever... I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. It's weird. It's weird. Ugh, God, it's just... I'm getting, like, Axe flashbacks, but, like, not even in a good way. Because Axe, every rule just, like, makes sense. It's, like, extremely complicated and, like, way over the top. But it's all, like, really logical. And it's like, okay, I can appreciate how this is all put together. Here, it's just, like... There's just easier ways to do all this, you know? Like, when we made this whole trip in Shadowdark, it was just like, okay, this is how many days it's going to take us. This is how many random encounter rolls we're going to do. And I just rolled D6 12 times. Done. Now, it's not super thematic or anything like that. But it's like, it's simple. I think I just really dislike consulting the bones for some reason. I don't know, I just don't like it. And I'd love to know, what are the odds? Just tell me the odds of consulting the bones. If yes or no is equally likely, use 50%. Or if one answer is substantially more likely, use 75%. Okay, so... Is that literally the odds? If I just consulting the bones, if I'm doing that, that's a 50-50 chance of yes or no? I mean, it does include a tiebreaker, I guess, but still. I have no idea. But I suppose it's 50-50. That seems to be the case that they're suggesting here. I mean, obviously you don't get the fortune and misfortune, you know, additional complication. I don't know, maybe my real problem is just that I have to keep going into this menu to consult the bones instead of just putting it on my fucking hotbar. Maybe I'll be less angry about it. Okay, so we're rolling for a travel event. Is there a travel event? No. Definitively no. And there's a fortune. Well, that's a turnaround. Let's roll for our fortune. 5. We get an advantage on foraging rolls, but... Yeah, but see, I'm supposed to roll this afterwards. I roll this after the day shift. So I feel like the fortune example, the fortune stuff here, pretty much always means the next day. Which I think is fine. I mean, that's not a big deal. Except if you're not traveling the next day, then it's often going to be pointless. But it's either that or roll the consult the bone for the event before the day shift. I don't know. I feel like this missed... I don't know. There's just... Yeah. I mean, look, it's tough. It is probably real fucking tough to write a new RPG and to put all this together. So I can't complain a whole lot because I'm never going to do that. I actually did try very, very early stages of making my own RPG. And it's just laughable to consider now because at the time I'd only played like 1 or 2 RPGs, you know? I'd probably do much better now, considering I've looked at a lot more RPGs since then. But yeah, back then that was funny. And I basically was just trying to make... honestly, something like this, really. I kind of wanted a grittier, low magic, high lethality kind of game. And I was just like kind of making stuff up as I went of like... I wasn't looking at any other rule books or any other examples of how to do things. I was just like, yeah, this could work. And it didn't really work. I think I had like a system where you had to have... I definitely had like hit locations. I remember I had hit locations and I had the character sheets that had like the paper doll of your character. And you had to have armor in each location if you wanted it to be protected. I think Warhammer Fantasy does hit locations. I'm trying to think of other fantasy games that do it. That are like popular. So Warhammer Fantasy and GURPS, I guess, both do it. And I still have never looked at GURPS because I'm always intimidated by it, but it might be interesting. I think those are probably the 2 biggest ones in the fantasy world of games that do hit locations. And I had definitely not played either one at the time. I later played Warhammer Fantasy, and we ended up liking it a decent amount, although we didn't go back to it. Because it was not... we discovered Shadow of the Demon Lord then, and that was just like, okay, that's everything. It's so powerful and so wonderful. But yeah, I like Warhammer Fantasy. Anyways, we're getting way off topic. What am I talking about here? Right, the fortune die. So I guess we are traveling tomorrow, so we will have advantage on foraging. But see, the reason... okay, the reason you can't do it that way, or if you do it that way, you can't tell the players that they're going to have advantage on foraging until after they decide their roles for the day. Because if you say, hey, today you're going to have advantage on foraging, it's like, oh, well, then we definitely better fucking forage. It's meant to be just a turn of fortune, a turn of fate. It's like, oh, yeah, nice. This was a good day. So I'd probably just consult the bones at the start of the day as the DM. And then you know exactly what's going to happen and you keep it all to yourself. Fortune or misfortune occurs during the day after they've picked what they're doing and everything, blah, 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 blah. Alright, but we're not having an encounter, so then we go to nighttime. We have to deduct rations, so 2 characters are going to have to deduct a ration. We'll have Palandra and, I don't know, Larry, I suppose. We still have not gotten to Ironwood Gorge. That's how ridiculous this whole concept is. Okay. Then we have to determine... We have to consult the bones to see if there's a night encounter again. So let's consult the bones. No, and there's another fortune. Here, I don't know if you even... I think maybe you just ignore that. Honestly, I would just ignore it. Yeah, we'll just ignore it. Okay, then the new day. We have 5 watches to go, so we're really going to try to move today. Larry is going to fucking guide now. He's taken over. Scissorin is going to be foraging. Fargran lookout, Calandra foraging. Oh yeah, we also had to rest is poor, so he still didn't get his HP back. And we all have to make a con check today or be fatigued. Great. Success from Larry. Terrible failure from Scissorin. Great success from Fargran. Failure. So Scissorin and Calandra both failed. Thus they are fatigued. What does that mean? It means that they lose 1 point of con each time they become fatigued. And they're treated as encumbered until they get 6 hours sleep. Boss con may not be restored in the usual way. Characters that do not sleep suffer disadvantage on all tests the next day until they get at least 6 hours sleep. Okay, I think that's if we don't sleep tonight. So I double fatigue. Okay. Is that a condition I can just slap on? No, of course not. Well, wait a minute. Here you go. Fatigue. Boom. Boom. Fatigue. So they lose 1 point of con. I will deduct that. And they're encumbered. So they blah blah blah. Hexploration speed may be affected. If any are encumbered, moving in another hex costs 1 extra watch. Okay, so we're only moving technically 2 watches today instead of 3. Fine. Fine. Alright. Now we're going to consult the bones. No, we're not going to do that. And we've already fucked up. We have advantage on foraging today, so just do that. So Larry guiding us. Guide us, Larry, with your intellect. Fucking failed. Again. So now we have to consult the bones to see if we wander into a random hex. Okay. And the answer is yes. So remember, we already, like, headed northeast, so now we're heading... Oh, no, we went northwest. Now we're actually heading northeast again, so it actually canceled each other out. Which means we're kind of back on target, so we can subtract a watch. So we needed 4 more, and today we're doing 2. Scissorin was... Yes, he was foraging with advantage. All right, he gets food for himself. Calandra foraging for herself. Okay, so the other 2 have to spend rations now. Consult the bones. Do we have a random encounter or a travel event? The answer is no. All right, pretty simple. Pretty simple. Ba 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 ba. I think that's it. So we have 2 watches left to get. This is an incredible journey we're on. You wouldn't even think this gorge is like a threat to the tower. It's like the fucking Oregon Trail away from each other. But no, sure enough, they're at odds. Okay, so then night. Do we have an encounter at night? The answer is no. Good. Excellent. So now we will definitely get some sleep. Larry's finally going to go to 11 health. Fatigue is gone. Fatigue is gone. Khan can go back to normal for them. They get their sleep. And you two are going to spend a ration. Larry's down to 2 now. I'm not going to have enough food to get back. That's how crazy this is. This is 5 days of ration. I mean, we did dump one from everybody for the cockatrices, which was foolish. But we may just have to sit here and try and forage food for a while. Okay. Theoretically, our last day of travel. We should get to the gorge halfway through. So, yeah, I haven't even been rolling weather because I just don't want to add another thing onto here. But, yeah. So, same rolls for everybody. I'm going to roll Consult the Bones if we have a travel event. We definitely do. And we also have Misfortune. What's the misfortune we get? Encounter event is likely. Alright, well now I don't know what to make of that, because if you roll Consulting the Bones as part of that, how does that affect... I mean, I guess then you Consult the Bones a second time to see, you know, if it's like advantage or disadvantage technically on the Oracle. I guess that's how I would do it. Because otherwise, you roll the misfortune or fortune at the same time. Anyways. So we get an event, some kind. We're going to roll a d20. And it is lost supplies. Who must make a group luck save or our rations water are halved. Or run out. That is problematic. I think we're going to die in this gorge. This is a bad omen. Alright, anyways. So we rolled... No, we haven't rolled anything yet. So we're rolling for guiding. Great success. Okay, excellent. We get there even faster than normal. Then we're rolling foraging for Scissorin. He gets 2 rations. Landra gets 1, so only one person has to deduct a ration. And then we have to roll for lost supply. So group luck save. Just straight up luck. That's bad. I think I would like to re-roll. Great success. Excellent. Alright, Scissorin luck. Fail. Fargran luck. Fail. He'll re-roll as well. Great success. Alright. I think basically we got it. I don't think we can fail this now. We got 2 great successes. Come on. And a success. Alright, we're good. Oof. We had to use up a reroll there. Two rerolls. Yeah. So that's a little painful. But we did it. We made it. And we are at the gorge. Finally! Good God. Now, again, to be fair, that mostly just felt like it took an eternity because of how many rules of travel are involved here. Whereas if you just did normal, like kind of hand wave a lot of stuff, it's like, okay, basically you can travel, 16 miles a day, and for every day, pretty much, you're rolling 4d6. And if you get any 1s, you get an encounter. And the encounter's, probably going to be combat. But it might be avoided in some way. And that's kind of it. That's kind of it. So, but chances are, you're still going to be encountering a lot of shit. Probably more than we did. So... But, Tales of Argosa kind of extends out the process a bit more and allows for kind of a greater variety of different things that could happen with the travel events and everything. And allows players to do these different travel roles. It has a built-in system of maybe getting lost and going in a different direction. You know, rations are pretty important here and kind of baked in. I don't know. I mean, I think it's mostly just like unfamiliarity with the system and the rules here. That's why it took kind of a long time. But I think probably if you've been playing for months, it's probably pretty streamlined and everyone kind of knows what they're doing, including the DM. But I'd still say the only thing I don't really love is this whole watch system. Because I don't know by the rules how you're meant to handle this. Of just like, if you're in an area with hills, forest, moors, badlands, or desert, you just like can't move after 2 watches. That's it. That seems weird. I mean, I get technically it says move into a hex. So if you're in a hex with these type of things, you can move around it for a while. But then there's no rules for like how much you can move. It's just dumb. This is just dumb, and this isn't how you should have written your system. I'm going to be purely honest with you. Because literally, you have no rule whatsoever for how far you can travel in a day. You have no rule at all for how many miles you can move in one day. I mean, technically you do, because that's kind of the intent of this, but not really. Because you only have rules for entering a hex or exploring a hex. And you might think, okay, well, exploring a hex could count as moving across it. But that's a really poor way of saying that. So by the rules, essentially, if I want to just get from destination A to destination B, and that destinations are separated by forest, I can move 2 hexes to enter another forest hex, and then I sit there and I waste a hex every day, which means that I can only move 6 miles through forest, compared to normal BXD&D rules and stuff where I can move 16 miles through forest a day. So, I mean, I already kind of house ruled it and just decided, okay, basically just figure out how many watches of movement are between destination A and B, and then that's how many watches you have to spend moving there. Which is a better system, and I think works. But it's still just not as good as a system from 1981, which is not a good thing to say about your 2025 RPG. Yeah, so yeah, what are you gonna do, you know? But that's just the nature of RPGs. It's just the nature of RPGs to just swap out anything you don't like for a rule that you do like. That's how it's always been. That's how it always will be. So there's no perfect RPG that... I can't imagine there's... I mean, maybe there are definitely DMs out there just run a system exactly as written. I mean, that's what the Bro SR is about, right? But, yeah, I'd say that's not the norm. Anyways, we have arrived at the gorge. So... The gorge is a, you know, it's a cliff. There's a river that runs through the center. And then there's 2 kind of ledges that lead up. You know, there's like an incline on both sides of the river here. And so they lead along each side. And you can follow along the river. There is actually an entrance to the lower caves. That's represented further down here. Here, number 7. Can get in that way, but I would imagine most players are not going to wade through the reeds and the river there to explore. So we're going to be going up the north side first, because that's the numerical order for the most part. And this is as far as I got with Shadow Dark, I'm pretty sure. You can climb the bluffs if you want. There's not much to do there, but there is a hole that leads down into the upper gorge from up there that you can fall into. There's also rock slides while you're in these ledges. Pretty much caused by loud noises or various spells. So it is possible for rocks to fall on everybody, kill you. Wandering monsters every other turn. I don't know. Are there rules here for this? Random encounters in a dungeon? Dungeon events. Oh, yes, right. The fucking dungeon tally. I keep forgetting that that's actually the system they use. And I wasn't crazy about it, but we will give it a try. So I'm going to create a party resource here. We'll call this the dungeon tally. And the default value will be 6. Max value is 0, 6. Yeah, create a resource, blah, blah, blah. Okay, there's our dungeon tally. So that'll go up like whenever we would do an underclock roll, whenever we move into a room or make noise or something. And then at 6, we will roll on the dungeon event table. We'll see how it goes. So we're going to climb up the ledge on the north side. I think technically we have to ford the river here. But I don't think they give any details about that, about how deep the river is or anything. So there is actually exploration rules that mention river, if we want to get even more into that. Consult the bones to determine whether some means of crossing is possible, modified by recent weather. If crossing is possible, the party suggests how they will do so, which the GM adjudicates, including whether any checks are needed, how many watches the process takes, etc. I think overall it's fine enough. But I don't know. We'll just hand wave it for now and say we can just ford the shallow river. It's not too bad. Actually, there might be rules on the river. Hold on. River banks are muddy and thick with rushes, reducing a character's movement by half. Doesn't really talk about much about the water or anything, so I think it's not too bad. It's just slow going, but which is funny because most groups I think are not going to do this. I'm only doing it just because I like to go in numerical order in the rooms. Most groups are just going to go up here where you arrive. Yeah, okay. So, we're at 2. I will up the dungeon tally by 1. The northern ledge is a shelf of loose shale. Attempts to move silently along the loose rocks suffer a penalty of minus 10%. Keen Dwarf will notice that the broken rock appears to have been well trod by something heavy. This ledge is roughly 100 feet above the gorge floor. Okay. So this whole area has loose shale. So if we want to sneak, it's going to be at a minus 2. And we do want to sneak, because sneaking ahead is good. Scouting ahead. So I think we're going to have Scissorin, because he gets advantage on Dex. So we're going to roll this, minus 2 with advantage. He sneaks up and he gets a success. By a margin of 1. So then there's 5 ogres here. So they're going to roll their perception. Should we see if there is a monster stat block for ogres? I would imagine so. Yes. Low intelligence. They have a perception of 7. So we're going to roll a d20 against 7. They got a terrible failure, so they're very distracted, not very observant. Alright, so he scouts up there. I'm going to add a dungeon tally for that. Mouth of this cave is roughly 16 feet high. There's a stink about the place, as it is home to 5 ogres. The ogres mostly keep to themselves, though late in the adventure the orcs may consider hiring them as mercenaries to deal with difficult adventurers or to make a final push against the Bleak Tower. The ogres have made sport of attempting to toss smaller creatures, halflings, goblins, and the like, across the gorge to the southern ledge. The feat is completely beyond their means, and their attempts are doomed to come up woefully short. Character facing this misfortune suffers 10d6 points of falling damage as they plummet to the bottom of the gorge. Okay. So if we look at the map here, the 3 is here, and obviously this is where the cave starts, like right where that number 3 is. So they're kind of in here. I assume these are 10-foot squares. Yep, 10-foot squares. So the entrance to this cave is like 20 feet across. The widest point in these caves is maybe 15 feet or so. And these are big boy ogres, so I feel like it's kind of cramped in there, to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised if some of them are on the ledge here, just like legs dangling over and, you know, just hanging out, having a ball. So we'd probably see like a couple ogres there just like chatting with each other, as ogres do, you know. Maybe he can see like another one further in the cave, but I don't think he'd get a full count of 5 here. So let's keep in mind a range of 240 feet. Oh, actually, I actually saw that in the variant rules for distances in feet. Very far range. GMs call up to 240 feet. If you insist on using feet distances instead of range bands. So, yeah, 240 feet. Honestly, I'd still probably just use axe rules because it's so easy for like weapon ranges and stuff. If I really needed to know. Because now, I don't know, if I just say, like, okay, you can do 120 feet without penalty, but past that, it's -2. But they say, look at the book. It says very far range, up to 240 feet. That's what my bow is, very far. Yeah, you know, I could see someone making an argument. But Axe knows. They know how far you can shoot a longbow. So I'd probably still insist on the -2 up to that range. But let's see here. 10. Fucking this mouse is just dying, I think. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, 130, 140, 150, 160, 170, 180, 190, 200. So if he's at this spot, he can definitely shoot the ogre sitting here. So, and there's a little hook here in the wall. Little hook here in the cave wall. So he could sit here, start shooting them, and as they're coming over, You know, they get up to him, he moves back, the others rush out and just slaughter the ogres. Now, again, this plan is predicated on the idea that there's only 3 ogres. But even still, that might be foolish. I'm playing this from the perspective of new players that just kill everything. But from a DM perspective, knowing how strong an ogre is, what would my thoughts be? 12 AC is pretty low. 4d3 hit dice, or 4 plus 3, which means 21 on average. 21 hit points. Club dealing 2d8, and they get plus 4 on the roll. And they also get Murderous Rage when they're wounded. Free attack against all foes in melee range. And their movement is fast. God damn. It's not great. It certainly seems a little iffy, knowing what I know now. But maybe I'd be kind of... I don't know why I would be confident. We already had someone die on this adventure before we even got to the location. If I was going to come up with a more clever answer here... They're ogres, so you can't really push them off. Shoving them is going to be pretty tough. Opposed strength checks. Because their strength is 19. Fucking 19. That means they need to roll a 19 or less to succeed on a strength check. Yeah, if you do opposed strength check, it's based on margin of success, but still, I mean, if they roll a 13, their margin is 6. If I roll a 13 on Fargrand, mine is 3. So, you're not really going to win opposed strength checks against them. I don't really have any spells or anything. I do have Larry. He's got the mutagen, he's got corroding spray, but I don't think that's applicable. And then he has troubleshooter. If I could come up with some sort of device, some kind of invention that would help here, what would it be? I feel like every single troubleshooter invention that I would come up with is just some sort of variation of a bomb. Like, it's just bombs all the way down. Because if we could just come up with a bomb that would, like, blow up this loose shale and maybe, like, cause them to fall down the cliff. But I feel like best case, that causes a landslide that doesn't kill us, I suppose. And increases the dungeon tally multiple times. Worst case, it, like, takes out the whole cliff here. And we can't get over to the other side, and rocks fall and kill us all at once. Are there any restrictions on this troubleshooter? I'm pretty sure it's quite open-ended. A jury-rigged device or ad hoc mixture to bypass a current obstacle, disarm a trap, or assist the party in some other way. GM determines whether a proposed item is possible in circumstances and how long it takes to create. So you can create some examples. Parachute, acid that melts a lock, one-shot flare gun or magnetic grapple, or a fusing agent to bind 2 objects together to climb a sheer wall. Devices and mixtures are temporary and makeshift. I mean, if you can create a flare gun or magnetic grapple, I don't see why a bomb is out of the question. We know that black powder is kind of a part of the setting and stuff. I guess technically the Hellfire Glass is a bomb. It's an explosive device you can hurl. 2d4 damage plus 1d4 every odd level beyond first. No save. And the damage dice are exploding. But if you fail that in check, it just detonates on yourself. Damn, that's pretty It's pretty rough, but you can also set it as a trap using fuse, tripwire, etc., which is pretty sweet. That's pretty cool. That's a great fun ability. So are you going to allow Troubleshooter to just basically copy the effect of one of those things? I mean, you basically are. I mean, one of the examples is acid that melts a lock in a few moments before turning inert is essentially what corroding spray is. It's basically the same exact thing. So I think there's precedence, and I would say if you want to make a little bomb, basically if you want to make Hellfire Glass with it, I'd probably allow it. I mean, if you have a player and all they want to do is make bombs all the time, then good for them. I mean, well, who are you to stop them? Unless that's not your idea of a D&D campaign, but then don't put bombs in your D&D campaign. Pretty simple. So I would go for it. I think Troubleshooter is pretty open-ended, unless it's like a really complicated device or something. Like if I had a player said, can I make a motorcycle? It's like, no. Maybe. Like, yeah, okay, you know, if it's gonna take a while, it's gonna take like an hour, it'll last 5 minutes, and it's gonna cost you a point of luck, and you have to succeed on the int check. You know, and if you do all that, then yeah, you can have your motorcycle for 5 minutes, I guess. You know, that's basically where I'd put it. But yeah, I mean, I think it's meant to be pretty open-ended. Okay, so is that actually what I want to do, though? Is that the smartest thing? Probably not. I think we do kind of want to set a trap, but maybe it should be more like an oil slick or something, you know? They're going to be moving quickly along this precarious edge. It's not that precarious, but this right here, this gap, is, you know, that's like 10 feet. It's like a 10-foot thing. And they're pretty big. They're big boys. So it's relatively precarious. And I think if we can just set up a trap, or is it better to just put down oil? But no, we want to be an inventor, so it's got to be like a, you know, like Data from the Goonies. It's got to be some ridiculous gadget that serves a kind of useless purpose that could be just easily done otherwise. But yeah, so I think it's got to be like a pressure plate or something that they step on that squirts a bunch of oil in front of them when they're running. So let's do that. He's going to use one use of his Troubleshooter. And we're going to have to make an int check here. No problem. Success. All right, excellent. And I don't think this is too complicated or out of the realm of possibility. Yeah, it doesn't really say how long it takes. How long it would take to build this and set it up. I think time is largely irrelevant. It's mostly just going to be a dungeon tally to do so. And then I don't think that he can... Well... It says, generally speaking, other classes do not have the expertise or require talents to make effective use of your inventions. Doesn't quite have the same thing for Troubleshooter. I don't know if that's meant to be connected. So that, you know... I think, depending on the gadget, I feel like some characters could set it up. This one is basically just a pressure plate or something that he just has to put down in the ground. So I just want to give it to Scissorin so that he can do the stealth check instead of me. Because Larry's not going to stealth over there. So I think that's relatively fair. And we'll do -2 with advantage. He got success again. So he sneaks over, he puts down the little pressure plate amongst the loose rocks and stuff. And sneaks back. And so now they got the 3 kind of hanging around the corner, and Scissorin is just going to start firing at the ogres. So here's his first shot. Wait a minute, did we do a second encounter where I didn't... We did, right? The orc battle. I didn't roll for that. Let me roll for that battle on his ammunition. Ammo roll. Okay, success. I like that you don't even get to see the result of the roll. And I assume... Where is it keeping track of, like, the tally or anything? What the hell, man? Who knows? Oh, okay, there it is, under detail. Alright, so they thought of stuff. And that does increase, so it should be at 3? Perhaps. Increases by 1 each battle. Right, and we didn't restock or anything, so he did the 1 roll after the war dogs, then it went to 2, then 1 now after the orcs, and it's at 3. And, yeah, we're gonna run out of fucking arrows, so that's a problem. But alright, he's gonna shoot at this ogre. 16 is a hit for 9 damage against one of those, so we definitely land an arrow on the side of his ribs or something. Shrieks in pain. And now we go to initiative. We got our little surprise. So I guess we'll... Yeah, fuck it, just go with him. Terrible failure. Okay, so the ogres are going first. So they look where the arrow came from, they see us, and they're pissed. They're pissed. Is it anything? It's just like the default assumption that creatures are just going to be like, oh, I must smash you now. I'm going to run towards you. I guess it kind of depends on the creature. I think that's generally the assumption. They're brutish man-eaters. Low intelligence, vicious, and easy to anger. I don't think there's much question here about the ogres charging toward us. Some creatures, if they're smarter, might duck into the cave, but ogres, not that. So, they're going to move, and they're fast, so they can move double normal, which means 120 feet per round. I'm not going to calculate it exactly, but I will just say that they're close to the oil slick, the pressure plate. So that's, we have to decide how many there are. There were 3 kind of within sight, pretty much. So let's say 3 are close to the slick, and then now 2 more have showed up at the cave entrance, looking pissed and seeing the situation. So now we know we have at least 5 to deal with. Fire pot is range far. I want to waste that as well. Range far is 60. I think I said there was like, what, 200 feet? They moved 120. So technically they're still 80 feet away from me. And I said they were near the oil slick, so I don't think I could move and throw this on the oil slick this turn. I think that would be really effective, because then, you know, it might... Well, I don't know. I don't think a fire would start, but maybe there would be embers that then would light up the oil slick, and there'd be a thick cloud of smoke. It would be pretty good, but we're fine. We'll hold off. So, Scissorin's just going to shoot at that same ogre again. crit. Now it says here that he did 10 damage. On a D8. Plus level. How do you get to 10? How do you get to 10? Well, wait a minute. How the fuck did I get to 9? Where am I adding 2 damage from? Hold on. Where am I adding 2 damage from? Perception adds to damage rolls? No way. You lie. Combat. Oh my god, perception does add to damage rolls. Holy shit. I did not know that. Well, then it shouldn't be... It should be 11. We're pretty clear on crits adding... Oh, half level, but round up. Yeah, round up. That's 1. Other characters cause max damage only. Okay. It should be 11, you dirty bastard. So I've done 20 damage to this thing, and it has 1 health left. This music really sounds like the Return of the Living Dead theme. The rest of us are still waiting. We're not going to give anything away and jump out yet, because there's no point. None of us have ranged weapons, so we will hold off. Then it's a new round. Roll initiative from Fargrin. Success. Scissorin's gonna shoot again at that same damn ogre. 13 is a hit. I'm annoyed I have to keep looking this up. But it has 12 AC, so that is a hit for 10 fucking damage. I rolled another 8. So he is very much dead. Arrow through the brain. His body tumbles down the gorge, smashing into the bottom. That'll give him something to think about. The rest of us still wait. The 2 ogres then rush on, and I think pretty there. I guess realistically, there is a small chance that they avoid the pressure, but they happen to not step on it. So I guess maybe I'd have like a 1 in 6 chance of them not stepping on it. All right, they step on it. And so they hit the oil slick, which squirts out like under their feet as they're running there. So now I'm going to have them roll dex to try and avoid slipping. So they have a dex of 8. So the first one barely manages to succeed. Second one fails. I think it's just more fun for the group and for everybody and everything and all that if the second one just literally whoop, and just tumbles down the gorge. I find the whole image quite amusing. You know? But one of them still goes on. And he runs. So he runs another 120. He does have to run to get up to Scissorin, but he does. Now, as far as I understand, there is no way for Scissorin to disengage from this melee without taking a free attack. And there's also no limit to free attacks, which is fucking wild. So, like, if all 4 of us are in melee with the ogre, and all 4 of us are like, let's walk away, he gets 4 attacks on us. As far as the rules seem to indicate. So that's wild. But it is now a new round, so Calandra rolling her terrible failure. Here is where it's gonna hurt, because this ogre is pretty fucking pissed at Scissorin, and is now going to smash the shit out of him with his club. So this is a +4 and for 2d8. Yep, that is a hit. 2d8, 15 fucking damage. So Scissorin was laughing, but he ain't laughing now because there's a good chance he's just fucking dead. And there's no really way around that. There's no please DM, don't do that. It was just, yeah, you were not laughing too long. Honestly, Scissorin probably should have moved away after firing, and there is no reason he would stand there. But maybe he thought the oil slick would just get them both. I don't know, and it could have, very well could have, but ouch. And also, we put initiative for this round on Calandra, who has the worst initiative. That sucked. Didn't plan that too well. It was because Peloria had the highest initiative, so I was using that same method. But no, we don't want it that way. Alright, so now we all go. So Fargrind is shouting for his friend, rushes out with his spear to impale this foul creature. That is a hit for 8 damage. Good. Good, good. It's at 13 health. Larry will come out swinging with his big-ass hammer as well. Two-handed. That is a miss, because Larry kind of sucks. But he did kill that other ogre entirely by himself, so that was good. And Calandra, I guess, will come out swinging as well. Because we don't have much else to do. And she doesn't have a shield, so we may as well two-hand. That is also a miss. Fuck. Oh, hold on. Fargrind could attempt a minor exploit, could he? So he could kick some... Well, not kick, but he could throw some of the loose dirt into this ogre's eyes with an opposed dex check. I'm not dumb enough to attempt opposed strength checks here, so we'll just try and temporarily kind of blind this thing. So he's going to roll his dex. Terrible failure. Maybe the ogre will also get a terrible failure. And he rolled a d20. He also did, and I think we'd say that that is a worse margin for that ogre. He's down 10, whereas Fargrind is down 8. So technically it is a success. I mean, you don't really care about the number, you care about the margin. So weirdly enough, I think we succeeded. Which, yes, that does mean that you practically can't fail this kind of maneuver against an ogre. Well, no, you definitely could. It's just really unlikely. And if you roll a 20, it's no matter what a failure. But here, yeah, okay, so we temporarily blind the ogre for 1 round. He's going to be near blind, so he's going to have a 33% miss chance. Flat. Alright. New round. Larry rolling initiative. He failed, so the ogre is now going to swing at Fargrind for daring to do this bullshit to him. So we do the 33. Basically, he rolls a 1 or 2 on a d6. He misses automatically. And there's a cat in my way, so I can't see the result. It's a 2. Alright, so he just swings wildly and misses Fargrind. And now Fargrind's going to spear him again. Give it what for? Another 6 damage. So he's at 7 health. And I guess I could just keep throwing more dust in his eye. Why wouldn't I? Roll dex. Great success, dude. You can't top that. He practically can't top that. He definitely can't top it. Blind him again. Haha, haha, pocket sand, pocket sand. This is what I was kind of worried about, is you just find a creature that has low dex or low strength, and you just repeat the same bullshit against them constantly. Let me just double check this opposed check idea. Both characters roll. Whoever succeeds by the greatest margin wins. Now I'm second guessing it because it specifically says who succeeds by the greatest margin. So that implies you do have to succeed on the roll. Which makes sense, I suppose. It does make sense. And if there's a tie, as in you both fail, then the status quo remains or might require a reroll. So, yeah, I'll be fair and say that I failed that first pocket sand. So I'm going to give the ogre his proper swing at Fargran. He got a 14, so that's a hit. 2d8 damage is 3 only, so that's good. Right, so then I can't do any more minor exploits because I failed, and he's just at 7 HP. But Larry, oh, Larry's gonna take care of this, no prop. Fucking Larry hasn't hit anything in decades. He did awesome against those wolves, and I was like really excited for Larry, and now he's just garbage. Melandra, also garbage. The fuck? Low roll. Roll low during attribute checks. Don't roll low now. But that's the round. It's not very good. Can't do minor exploits if we don't hit shit. So, also I should have charged. Why didn't I charge again? I keep forgetting that. And we still haven't gotten a single trauma roll. Because if I get a crit now, I'm gonna kill him. So, alright, but Fargran initiative. Terrible failure. The ogre's gonna swing back with his club against Fargran again, because he's the only one doing anything to him. Why wouldn't he? That's a hit, 2d8 damage. 10. That hurts a lot more. Ow. Now you will die, foul creature. Down to 3 health. Come on, Larry. Come on, Larry. There it is. Dead. Finally connects across this thing's temple and just boom! Down on the ground. Dead. Right. While that was all going on, because that was a lot of rounds, I forgot about the other 2 ogres entirely. So, I guess as a DM, I'd say... Well, I wouldn't say I fucked up. I'd just say, oh, well, they were really hesitant. Because they saw that one fall off the edge. And they're not that incredibly dumb, I guess. Even though I feel like they are that incredibly dumb. What's their int? 6. It's not that incredibly dumb. And I think even like a dog or something would be able to tell that something's slippery and not to run across it or something. Well, I don't know. Maybe that's giving too much credit to dogs. What's a dog's intellect? 4. Okay, so they're smarter than dogs. Yeah, I think they would recognize that, then see their buddy fell to his death, and maybe they would have gone slower. So now they're coming. Now we're going. They got 2 more ogres coming, and we got nothing. So Calandra now is going to grab the fire pot off of Scissorin's body. And we'll just say she can throw it. We'll just throw it. They're not on the grease anymore. They're past that. They're pretty close. But she's going to grab the fire pot and throw it. So this is... Fuck, why is it... Why would I pick her? I guess it's all pretty bad no matter what. But yeah, this is just going to be a ranged attack. -2. But... You do get +2 bonus on the attack roll. So it's just a ranged... It's just a d20, and we got to hit 12 or higher. We didn't. So she really limp wrists it, flies off the gorge, flies off the ledge, drops down onto that guy that fell and explodes and burns his corpse. Goodbye, Firepot. Awesome. Fuck. New round. I think Calandra initiative, which is bad. Oh yeah, real bad. So now they rush in. And they're both going to swing at Larry because he killed their beloved husband or something. So they're both rolling +4 with their clubs. 6 and 19. The second one's a hit for 6 damage. He's at 5. Okay. Fuck. This is not good. This is not good at all. Then we go. Larry's going to pop his mutagen. Roll. Woohoo! Strength and dex to 7 fucking 2. I don't think I adjusted his numbers, so I don't know what he was at now. Why didn't I change his base numbers when I made him? Fuck. Okay, he was definitely at 13 strength. And I think his dex was like a 9 or something. I think it was 4. It may have been worse than that. Oh well. It's a 9 now. It's that just whatever. So we did use Alchemy and Mechanica. So that's gone. But now we have 17 strength, 17 dex for 2d6 rounds. 3 rounds. Well, hopefully that's enough. And I think that's an action to do. So that's an action. Fargren is going to spear one of the new ogres, of course. 20. We rolled a 17. So, yeah. But he does 8 points to 1, so it's down to 13. And Calandra will swing her mace at the same one. Come on, she's got to hit sometime. Today. All right. So, should I Holy Smite? It's basically a crit. So it would be 1d8 plus 1. No, plus she's two-handing it. So 9 plus 1 from strength is 10. Plus a level is 11. So it would be 11 damage. No, I think we want to use that when it actually will be a kill. So she's going to do nothing, but she is going to pocket sand it, even though her dex is also atrocious. Well, what's the worst that can happen? She rolled a fucking 1, dude. You're not getting out of that. And he rolled a 20. Dude, he should be... Come on, that's like permanently blinded or something. Yeah, I mean, if I was DMing, that would be pretty severe. So we'll just say he's blinded for the rest of his life. Which hopefully will not be too much longer. Okay, good. New round, I believe. And I think it's Larry's initiative. Which is excellent, because his new initiative is amazing. He still failed! God damn it, Larry! Alright, well, Larry, you're taking these hits. So the first one is just a normal swing plus 4. Miss. And then the second one has the blind chance. Okay, that didn't count. So now... Still a hit. 2d8, probably dead. Oh yeah, dead. Fucking mutagen didn't do jack shit. Fuck. Can't believe he failed that initiative. That's insane! I mean, yeah, it was a 25% chance. I know. But, man, oh man. That is so bad. This whole adventure has just been pockmarked by shitty-ass rolls. I mean, really, there's been so many shitty rolls here. Alright, we're gonna attack the wounded one, the blinded one, I guess. Hit for 6 damage, so he's down to 7. And then she'll swing the mace as well. Hit for 7. Kill. Good. Still 1 left. And now, Fargren initiative. Failure. So we have the last ogre, which will probably make a morale check at this point. Succeeds. So it's going to swing at Fargren. No, it'll swing at... I'll be nice. We'll swing at Calandra. D20. 18. That is very much a hit for 2d8 damage. 8. She's down to 3 as well. And then our turn. Spear. Spear. Crit. 9 damage, which is not 9 damage. Because it should be 1d6 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1. So it should be 1d6 plus 4. Should be 10 damage. So he's at 11. And then we finally get to roll on blunt trauma. Holy shit. Or blade trauma. Finally get to roll on blade trauma. And this is D12 plus 2 because of our brutal strikes that finally activated. There you go, 11. Blade trauma, severed leg or foot. Roll 1d6. 6. The whole leg we just destroyed somehow with our spear. I don't know how it works, but it worked. Limb is severed unless luck con save. Okay, what's their con? That's their, yeah, what's their con? Probably pretty good, right? 15. Oh, but this is a luck save. Their luck is 7. And a 15 is plus 2. So 9 is their roll. Alright, he succeeded. Damn, didn't sever the leg. Would have been nice. So his movement speed is halved. He's going to require crutch or peg legs. Suffer disadvantage on mobility-related checks. On a success, the limb is badly lacerated and non-functional, but will heal with treatment and 8 weeks rest. Yeah, I hope you get that, buddy. What I would interpret that as is he's going to have disadvantage if I try to shove him off the cliff. So there's that. And I think Calandra might go for that if she hits. Let's swing. She does hit. This was this fresh hit, right? 10, so he was at 11. He's at 2. I could smite to kill him, but we're going to try to shove him off because why not? So again, I'm pretty sure this is just a minor exploit of a shove. So we're going to roll our strength. Normal. All right, we got a success by 4. He's going to roll a d20 with disadvantage, but his strength is 19. So I feel like it's still kind of rough. He's got to roll like a 16 or higher. He rolled a 20. So we really threw him off balance. He was like, oh, you know, leaning on his other leg heavily, and he's kind of wobbling, and Calandra smashed him with a mace. Followed through enough to push him off balance, and he tumbles down just like his buddy into the gorge, dead. Holy shit. That was a tough battle. That is where I think we'd say... Oh, now I remember what I wanted to find on this chart that wasn't here. Yeah, the XP. I wanted to see the XP charts. I care probably more about that than, like, the weapon charts, to be honest. But anyways. Right, that would be a difficult foe for sure. So 2 XP from that. Fat lot of good to the non-survivors, but at least Fargran's still here. Alright, and then we will quickly check the other 2. We have no healing magic, so none of that matters. And it's just going to be a 10 plus... It's con or will. So it's just 10 for Scissorin. He survives. Huzzah! And then Larry... yeah, also just 10. Also survives! Huzzah! Oh my god. Against all odds, they survived. So we stabilize them. And they're going to go back to 1 after we do a short rest here, the rest of us. So short rest for Fargren. Double fail. He does have a reroll. He's going to reroll 1. Great success. He's going to recover half his lost HP. So he's at 9. And then Calandra. Double fail. He's going to reroll and reroll the other one. Just look at that. Failure across the board. And she has a 15 will. She rolled an 18, 17, 20, and 18. You can't tell me that this playthrough has not been just cursed by terrible rolls. Except for the fact that Larry and Scissorin survived. Okay, we're in a really rough spot, though, here, narratively. Because they're going to be at 1 each. Most of us are practically near death. Bargrind is, like, almost wounded at half health. And they both have to roll on the injuries and setback table. So Larry's injury and setback, he rolled a 20 here. So his neck is fractured. He's helpless, paralyzed from the neck down until treated by an apothecary, and 12 weeks of rest. Permanently lose 1 point of con. Okay, so he's down to... I don't know why his con's at 11. I think maybe that's where I put the human +1. And I didn't change this. So now he's back to 10. Okay. And then this is, definitely is over as well. It's still showing his hit point is 11. Oh yeah, that's correct. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's all good. So he's helpless. His neck has been fractured, which isn't shocking. He took a club, you know, straight to the dome. It's a miracle he's alive. But if we want Larry to live, yeah, we have to carry him out of here back to civilization through the 3-day trek across the Ironwood that we just got finished doing. Oh my god. I think plenty of groups would just be like, sorry, Larry, we'll put you out of your misery. Oh my god. Scissorin, on the other hand, got a 15. Internal bleeding. When you take an injury in combat, must make a con or will check or lose 1d8 HP. Holy shit, that's pretty bad. I guess it's not as bad as a neck injury, but it's pretty bad. 3d6 days of rest to mend the injury. So either way, I mean, yeah. Larry's going to be out of commission for 12 weeks. So 3d6 is going to be on average a similar number. 13. Okay, so actually he's going to be going slightly longer. Oh my god. I mean, I kind of love it, to be honest. Because again, this is meant to be all in a sandbox hex crawl campaign. So the time isn't really that devastating of a factor. Because it's like, okay, we go back and if we get to civilization, you know, we hold out for 12 weeks or 13 weeks or whatever. Assuming you have enough money to kind of live that long. The others, I guess, could be working during the process. But yeah, really, it's the tricky thing is getting back to civilization now. This is a really bad situation. I don't think Larry can do anything. I don't think he can even use troubleshooting. He's helpless. Completely unable to defend themselves, may be killed with a single melee action. So it's essentially if you were sleeping or unconscious. So I think he's meant to just not be able to do anything. Fortunately, Scissorin is capable of walking. So all we have to do is construct like a crude stretcher for Larry. And carry him back. Scissorin definitely can't participate in any combat, so we're going to have to avoid everything. What's really annoying is I feel like we were close to treasure by actually wiping out all those ogres. Yeah, actually there is a massive amount of treasure. The 5 ogres is everything that's here. So I don't think you would actually do it as players. I don't think you'd be that stupid to like risk it. But if you thought that that was all the threat, like that was all the ogres, the threat's over, you might creep in there to see if they had any treasure. So I think it's kind of possible if a group thinks that way and someone is brave enough to do it. So I guess Fargrind will be like, well, you know, we may as well not leave empty-handed. Also, I think these guys get the XP as well. They participated, so they're 5. So Fargrind, yeah, will creep over. He'll slowly step through the oil slick, go through the fire pit room. Smells pretty horrific in here. Go past their little sleeping area, and then get to the loot pile. Prodigious pile of coins on the floor, along with a crude wooden box also filled with coins. Altogether, there are 5,000 copper pieces, 3,000 electrum pieces, and 1,000 gold pieces. All of it lays heaped upon a boar's hide. Okay, so this is big. If I were to just straight up convert this, let's see, 5,000 copper is 500 silver. Really, I think we're meant to just divide by 10 across the board. So 500 copper, which is 50 silver for us. 3,000 electrum. That's 15,000 silver, which would be 1,500 silver. And then 1,000 gold, which is 100 gold, or 1,000 silver. I think we kind of want to keep coin amounts here. So basically 2,500 silver. Give or take 2,500 silver pieces is our reward for clearing out those ogres, which is, if we can get it back to civilization, that is a pretty massive amount. If I was running Shadow Dark and doing gold as XP, and we counted that as 15,000 silver, it's 1,500 gold, so 2,500 gold, 2,500 XP. That's a nice little snag. That's like bigger than anything I found in Barrow Maze after like 4 sessions. But instead, let's look at the treasure table, because this is going to be more exciting. So it's going to go under valuables or trinkets. There's also lair treasure. Generally allocated according to the predominant or highest hit dice of the vanquished. An entry covers the spoils of several score to hundreds of monsters consolidated in a base of operations. Also might reflect the collection of an individual hoarder such as Dragon Medusa or Elderly Sorcerer. Okay, I don't know if we really can do that either then. I think the idea though is that it shouldn't just be coins, it should be other things. So, what did we say it was? 2,500 silver? So that's like the average value that we're looking at here. Which, even valuables B. The top end, well, let's see, the top end of valuable B, as far as monetary value, is like, what, 1,200? Maybe 2 grand? So valuable B is probably what you're looking for. Although the fact that it's mostly like singular items, like little treasure items, like a signet ring and a trio of silver bangles, that's a lot different and a lot trickier or a lot less trickier, you know what I mean, than carrying out 3,000 coins. Again, I don't think you're meant to, I don't know. Lair treasure rolls are generally reserved for the consolidated hordes of very large numbers of creatures, scores or hundreds, as opposed to, for example, a lair of 12 ogres, which might instead consist of a carry loot B and valuables A roll. Okay, well, interesting, they have a very specific guideline example there. Carry loot B and valuable A. The carry loot B is going to generate around 100 silver or so. And then the valuable A is going to generate like 500 silver worth of treasures. So you're talking like 600 compared to the direct conversion of 2,500 silver. Again, let's go to just look at like what we can purchase with all this stuff. So fire pots, like we said, are going to cost like 30. No, much more than that. 5d10 plus 50. So way more than that. Where did I get 35 from? Oh, I forgot about the plus 50, I think. So really, this is going to cost like 85 silver on average. That's a big difference, man. If you're talking about 1,000 silver to 2,500 silver, that's a lot of fire pots. The fact that some of these cost so much is really ridiculous. Tripwires? Tripwires cost 85 silver? You're telling me that I can buy like 3 greatswords for the price of 1 tripwire? Or a peg leg? These prices are bonkers, right? I mean, these prices are off the chart. A fucking peg leg, 85 silver? A club is free. A club is free! I don't like any of these values. I don't like any of the economy in this entire game. I would just play with Axe. Just go to Axe. Just do that. Just edit the PDF and just wherever the equipment section starts, just copy this section and put it over in Tales of Argosa and call it a day. All right. Regardless, yeah, getting these two back to civilization, even the Bleak Tower, and then spending 12 weeks at the tower, I don't think they'd really allow that. They'd charge 5 silver per person per night. So, 2 gold for my crew every night for 12 weeks. Like, we wouldn't be able to do that. So I don't know what we would exactly do in this situation, but I guess that's kind of why it's interesting. Because he's not dead. So if the player is like, oh, I can't give up on my Larry. Please don't give up on my Larry. You know, the other characters, the other players would have to be like, yeah, well, we're just going to kill him because we're not going to deal with that. But if everyone was on board and didn't want to just murder one of their own because they know that he can recover, yeah, it would be pretty interesting to deal with that. As it is, though, I think we're going to leave this off here. We didn't get very far in Ironwood Gorge, so I don't really have an opinion on it, which is a bummer. But it seems kind of interesting. There's some fun encounters here. Yeah, I think there's some fun encounters here. So, I don't know. It seems all right. But really, I wanted to look at Tales of Argosa and talk about this. And I think ultimately this is what they kind of call a fantasy heartbreaker. Fantasy heartbreaker is a fantasy TTRPG that you look at and you get really excited about because you see some very good ideas, some very fun and good ideas, and it's very clear that the designer, the author, has a lot of love for the genre and had a lot of interest in putting in here. And the heartbreak is that it's also bogged down by some really dumb decisions and dumb rules and bad mechanics in certain things. And the OSR community and, the whole thing is filled with fantasy heartbreakers. And that's how it continues to thrive. Because then people say, oh, well, really love some of the ideas in this system, and I really love some of the ideas in this system. What if I combine them and make my own system? And then someone else comes along and says, oh, man, look at this system this guy put together. There's a really good ideas here, but there's also some stuff I hate. So I'm going to take some stuff from this other game I like. And so on and so forth. And that's how we have like 300 systems now. So what are the things that I really love about Tales of Argosa? Things that I love. I would say, in general, I do like the roll under for attribute checks. I do like that it makes every attribute point matter. But that is also the case for Shadow the Demon Lord and Shadow the Weird Wizard, and they don't use roll under. They just make it so that every point is a modifier, and it just squishes all the stats down, and that just seems easier because then everything is still equal or beat. And those systems also have the very good thing where all your DCs outside of combat and stuff are a 10. So you always kind of know that you're shooting for a 10. So the numbers are very consolidated. But anyways, I do like the roll under thoughts, and I think it's done fairly well here. I like that ranged attacks got split over to perception, which also is useful for, noticing things, picking up clues, detecting ambushes and stuff like that. I think that is, an attribute that certain characters and players value pretty highly, and it doesn't just make Dex super powerful, so I like that. I like the initiative system pretty good. I like how quick it is, one person rolling for the whole group, and you either go before the monsters or after. I think that's pretty nice if you want a quick, simple initiative. And yeah, I like that it combines Dex and Intelligence, making them both valuable for different characters. Luck, like all your saving effects and everything based on luck. We really honestly didn't get into that too much. I probably didn't embrace it enough with my own sort of decisions as a DM, kind of like trying to arbitrate certain mechanics. I didn't think of luck as much for certain stuff. But I don't know, we didn't really get too much, so it's kind of hard to say. I like the idea of it just on paper, that your luck kind of runs out, and your luck kind of grows as you level up, but then every time you succeed, it gets a bit lower and lower and everything. Classes, I really love the idea of the Artificer. Like, this is very much up my alley, and the troubleshooter and stuff. Like, this really set the whole tone of the system with, like, creativity and ingenuity and freeform kind of stuff. So, really like the Artificer a lot. I think that's great. Other classes, I think oddly limited in some ways, despite the freeform nature of a lot of the rest. I think, yeah, like if I kept going, the template, I would make templates for sure, 100%. I don't necessarily want a bard that starts with a spear and a chain shirt and has no option otherwise. And it's like, well, man, just house rule that. Change it. It's like, yes, I know. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I would do. So it's just kind of but I'm judging the system based on, as written, as displayed. And I just think that's weirdly, like, restrictive. Just like, whoever, no matter what, if you're a bard, you start with a spear and a chain shirt. There's not even, like, an or in there, like a spear or a crossbow, or, there's nothing. It's just, you get a spear and a chain shirt. And if you make a whole party and you have 6 bards, every single one starts with a spear and a chain shirt. It's just, yeah, I don't know. We can be better than that. Overall, like I said, I wouldn't really be inclined to play this system, even though I do like a lot of the freeform stuff. That does get me excited. I just can't really play a system with this low of magic. Like, it wouldn't be... That's why I pick fantasy games. If I don't want to fuck around with magic or do anything, like, I'll go play a cyberpunk game. Or I'll go play Call of Cthulhu or something like that, Like, fantasy, to me, typically means magic. And I know... And I'm not judging this. It's a low fantasy game. I get that. I'm just mean, in general, I'd prefer to DM it rather than play it, because that's not really my flavor of playing. So I think overall it does pretty well with the low fantasy concept of making magic kind of a little rare and dangerous, and you're not, like, calling down meteors by level 4 or something like that. It's pretty low fantasy. Yeah, the unique features, we didn't get to that, but again, I still really love the concept of it. I think a lot of games could benefit from just, like, throwing that in there. Like, just take any fantasy game, and at a certain level, just, yeah, if you get to level 4 or 3 or whatever, you just come up with a unique feature for your character. Like, I may actually change some games to just throw that in there, because I think that's really good. Obviously requires a DM that's very much on board with that whole idea and can rein in things and have an idea, a semblance of balance, because that could get very much out of hand. Like, play D&D with a bunch of, like, 12-year-olds and see how balanced it stays. I mean, we played D&D 4th edition when we were 20, and it wasn't balanced because the DM just was throwing out magic items and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, definitely, if you're trying to keep it balanced, the DM's going to have to do plenty of thinking about that. Skill list, as it turned out, it didn't really result in a whole lot of problems, because most characters are only going to have a small handful of skills, and they're going to try to apply them whenever they can, because it's a +1 and you can reroll. So I don't think it's as stressful on the DM as I thought. But again, we were following a dungeon module, so it wasn't coming out. We weren't doing, like, general lore, divine lore, things like that. But I don't know. I'd still probably prefer to ditch it, but it's fine. The equipment section, yeah, tear it all right out. Just get rid of the entire equipment section. There's not many good ideas here at all. I think if you are someone that doesn't want the full crunch of, like, Axe, where you think about, the market classes and all that sort of stuff, I suppose having the supply roll and categorizing items into one of these common, uncommon, rare, very rare categories, I think that's pretty decent. And it's just, like, it's pretty clear to tell the players, like, okay, you're looking for this rare item. Yeah, I'd even have them roll the supply, because it doesn't really matter. It's like, okay, you rolled a 12, so there's none here. And you have to wait, 4 weeks before you can check again. I think that's alright. I don't have much issue with that, but the fact that you make gear and everything have random costs is just like, no, that's not my thing at all. Like, I don't like any of that. Because why not just have that for everything? Like, okay, well, you have a meal. Why not do 1d3 for that? You have weapons. Why don't you do 1d10 for a lance or something? If you're going to put specific costs for weapons and armor, why not just do that for hammers and clothes and crowbars? And, like, I don't understand why there's a disconnect there. I don't get it. really get it. Other than you just didn't want to fill out your equipment section. But it's a very uncommon thing. I mean, normally games price all their shit because people like to know that. As for the equipment itself, you know, it's... I generally prefer either... I don't know. I generally prefer more properties and different traits that differentiate equipment and weapons and stuff like that. And I don't mind having a big list of armor. You know, I don't mind having leather armor be different than hide armor, different than chain armor, different than ring mailed armor, different than plates, you know, and it all is its own thing. I understand lumping it together, and it's honestly pretty close to Shadow Dark, the way that it's displayed here. So I suppose I can't be too upset. But yeah. I like that they have the option for Masterforge gear. That is something I think is missing then from Shadow Dark. And especially because there's like different types of Masterforge weapons and armor that you could get that has different benefits. I think that's all really nice. So props to that. The whole great success, terrible failure system. Honestly, on Foundry, pretty good. If I was just playing exclusively on Foundry, I would rate it decently well, because I think it is very easy. You know, you just do the roll and then it tells you. You know, it's already all calculated. I think that's really nice and was a fun addition. At an actual table, if I have to keep scanning back and forth between my dice roll and the attribute and look at my great success score and do the mental math every time I roll, yeah, fuck that. Like, just fuck that, to be honest. So, depending on the mode in which you're playing, I think this could be good or pretty bad. Again, compared to Pathfinder, which is just so much simpler and more elegant of a system. But the issue there is that Pathfinder 2nd Edition obviously has a much wider array of numbers involved. Whereas this, being a much lower scale game, is bound by smaller numbers. So you couldn't really do the plus 10 is a crit, minus 10, crit fail sort of thing. And so he's kind of worked within the framework he has. But yeah, it just doesn't... this is not elegant. I'm sorry. What else? The actual combat system, pretty good. I mean, a lot of times it is going to devolve into just I swing, you swing, blah, blah, blah. There is the exploits, and I do think that is pretty good. I've actually seen suggestions and ideas of working similar concepts into basically any game, where basically if you hit something, you can then just go the extra bit and apply some sort of effect or do something extra on top of it, or attempt to do something extra on top of it. So it's not like a brand new idea for this game or anything, but I do like it. I think I could see just throwing this kind of rule, maybe not exactly or anything, or I mean maybe pretty close to it, I don't know, it's fine, into Shadow Dark to make it just a little bit more interesting and to encourage like creativity in combat. The argument against it is the same argument against people make for Mighty Deed of Arms from Dungeon Crawl Classics, in that players will just find like one or two things that always seem to work well, and they just do that every single time. And they don't really ever come up with anything creative because they've just found like this little mechanical benefit that they just work off of. And the fucking hell, cat. The idea is, you know, the idea of the Mighty Deeds of Arms and stuff like that is that it's meant to encourage player creativity within a battle scene and stuff. But the critics of the mechanic say that should already happen because the DM should make interesting scenes, should make interesting battlefields and stuff like that. And so the Mighty Deed of Arms and this kind of exploit mechanic doesn't fix that, because players then are still just going to gravitate towards just a simple mechanical benefit. And if you already are making interesting battles that have a lot of you know, terrain and interesting features and things like that, then the Mighty Deed of Arms isn't going to change anything. Your players are already, you know, likely to do creative stuff regardless. I can see the argument, but I don't think it really hurts to try it with your group and see if people take to it and come up with creative stuff. I think I do have some players in my group that are much more likely to come up with creative maneuvers mid-combat that differ from combat to combat. And by and large, I don't have many players that are just going to pocket sand, pocket sand, pocket sand. And at least here, unlike the Mighty Deed of Arms, if you fail ever, then you can't do it anymore for that battle. So it is somewhat limited. We didn't get to do a major exploit at all, but yeah, I think by and large it's not a bad thing, and I'll probably incorporate it into Shadow Dark. So there's that at least. Some of the rules are just kind of ridiculous, like the whole free attack rules are bonkers, very unusual. Usually either just don't worry about free attacks at all, they're not in the game like Shadow Dark, or they're much more codified and kind of strict. You either have to spend a reaction to do it, or you can only do it once per battle, or once per round, or something like that. Yeah, it's kind of why. I don't know. The Natural 19 concept with the traumas and things, I think that's pretty cool. I do think that's pretty cool. I don't know if I would go through all the effort of just stealing it wholesale and throwing it into Shadow Dark or something. I'm not sure. Because it is an extra little bit of overhead, but I do also think that players would enjoy it for the most part. Because you roll a 19, it's like, oh, so close to an awesome crit, and oh, it would be so good. But at least with a 19 now, you get cool trauma, and you get to roll on fun trauma tables and stuff like that. And unless a class says otherwise, you don't get that effect on a 20. So it's a very exclusive effect for 19s. Yeah, I don't know. I might try throwing that into Shadow Dark and seeing how it goes. The death rules, not bad. I mean, yeah, not bad. Certainly a little harsher than Shadow Dark, definitely. But I don't think I love it or care enough to change Shadow Dark's system. Because I think it works for Shadow Dark and it's pretty simple and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, I don't know. The short rest rules. Fine, but I think it's kind of just exclusively fine to this game, more or less. I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of hard to say. I mean, the rules, the healing rules and everything are written very clearly to kind of encourage continuing on, you know, of just like patching yourself up without magic and stuff like that, and just kind of grinning and bearing it and continuing on through the day, because sleep gets you very little. Sleep only gets you like 1 HP. That's it. Like if you decide to rest in a dungeon overnight, all you get is 1 HP. You don't get any class ability uses back. You don't get any rerolls back. You don't get like anything. You just get 1 HP. No luck back, nothing. So sleep is very ineffectual here compared to just patching yourself up, which can never get you back to full HP, but it kind of is like, you kind of have your like encounter abilities, and that's the way to reset them. Which does mean, I guess, that if you don't recover a class ability, then you have to do another battle and succeed in, you know, whatever. You have to finish another battle some way to do another short rest to get this back. So in the sense of just like encouraging players to keep pushing on rather than just okay, we did our battle, now let's sleep for the whole day, and we did our battle and sleep for the whole day. I think OSR games typically curb that sort of mentality by random monster checks and all that sort of stuff, and not really wanting to spend that much time in a dungeon. But this system more built towards the sandbox hex crawl stuff. So, you know, it's a little different. I don't know. Yeah, I think compared to Shadow Dark is mostly fixed. It mostly avoids this whole thing by not having class abilities and by having a priest with cure wounds that he can just spam forever. So I think porting over these rules in any way to Shadow Dark is kind of pointless. Unless I was going to start grafting on class abilities to Shadow Dark that, like, you know, had uses and stuff. But that's what I'm saying. Like, this is kind of exclusively good for this system. Spellcasting, again, I think it kind of fits the tone and the level of low fantasy and stuff. I'm not massively a fan of it. Going through it and everything, it just, nothing really excited me. Nothing I was like, oh man, this is cool. Oh, this is going to be great. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's fine. And I think a magic user here is more powerful than like an actual BX D&D wizard or whatever at level 1. But I think an old school D&D wizard at level 8 is going to be more powerful than like anything in this game. And that just kind of bums me out. So, no, there's nothing really here that I would ever steal or be excited about, or is honestly that original. So, you know, it's kind of a disappointment for me as a player. The XP system, though, I really do like. I like a lot, and I might steal it entirely over to Shadow Dark. I know it does encourage combat, but I don't think you don't have to specifically say kill here. And they do say defeat, and it is under the combat section, but I think much like, you know, actual old school D&D, if you can somehow, you know, circumvent or, you know, win an encounter without just fighting, that also counts for monster XP. So I think that's a similar thing here. If you can defeat a group of difficult foes without actually getting into a fight with them and slashing them down, that's worth 2 XP. So they call it combat. I think that's a bit of a misnomer. This should be like the monster section or the foes section or something like that. I mean, they use the word defeat, which is good, but yes. The thing is, again, this system is more built towards a sandbox hex crawl. So there's a lot of intention of you being outside of dungeons, and thus you get XP for like social actions and exploration stuff. Shadow Dark, very strongly geared towards exclusively dungeon play a lot of the time. So that's why they went with just treasure, like old school D&D for the most part. But yeah, I mean, Shadow Dark doesn't even give you XP at all for handling monsters in any way. I like this a lot more. I like that it encourages heroic action and stuff. I may even go through and rewrite a couple of these things or add a couple of these things to further, you know, have some other options available. But by and large, I think this XP system is really pleasant from a DMing perspective. So I'm probably going to steal this mostly wholesale for Shadow Dark from now on. Yeah. Because again, I don't really love dungeons that much. And if I'm going to run a D&D campaign, I mean, not a whole lot of it. It's not going to exclusively take place in a dungeon unless I'm running like Barrow Maze or something. So I want to encourage social activities and exploration and all that stuff, while also giving XP for any loot you get or monsters you somehow defeat. So yeah, I like the XP system a lot. Beyond that, I mean, there's not a whole lot else to talk about. The whole hexploration thing, the only positive really here was the travel rolls, and that's not a unique thing to this game that they came up with. So I think if I was going to port it to Shadow Dark, I'd have to come up with some rules specifically for Shadow Dark. And I'm not sure how much I'd care to bother. I don't know. I'm a little conflicted on it in other systems and actually running it. But I do like the idea of it. I like the idea of players having dedicated roles and they all get a chance to kind of do something good for the team or bad for the team. But yeah, every other aspect of the whole exploration section, kind of throw it out. I don't really care. I would say probably these tables for random encounters in different terrain is good, but if I'm going to do that kind of thing, I'm going to Axe, because Axe has an insane list of random encounter tables. So we didn't get to a lot of these other rules. Monsters, yeah, it was fine. I mean, it was good. The ogres and everything were good, and I probably ignored a special feature of the ogres or something completely. Oh yeah, the murderous rage when they got injured. Well, that would have probably been a whole wipe. I think we all would have wiped if I remembered that. But yeah, they are meant to be dangerous opponents. Whoops. Oh well. It's fine. I mean, nothing really special here, other than I like that each one has a special reaction table unique to them. Or relatively unique to them. That's mostly it, really. The treasure stuff, fine. I mean, again, it's not unique. I think it's a little... I haven't used old school, like, OSC's treasure tables and stuff like that, so I don't know how these all compare, but yeah, I don't know. It's not really... It's fine. It's fine. And then that's pretty much it. That is Tales of Argosa. So, overall, I would rate it more towards disappointing than anything, because I was told that it's a pretty great system. Some say the best OSR-related system ever. And the people said Shadow Dark, but crunchier and everything, and it's like, oh, this all sounds pretty good. And yeah, it kind of is Shadow Dark, but crunchier, but not really. And I think Shadow Dark is always going to be more popular because of how simple and fluid and kind of elegant it is and hackable it is, whereas this one not nearly as hackable. And so if you don't like the crunch that's here, which isn't an excessive amount, but if you don't like the crunch that's here, there's not much reason to play it compared to just like hacking Shadow Dark a bit or playing any one of the other 300 systems. But there were some good things, so I firmly rate this a fantasy heartbreaker, I think. Yeah, so probably going to steal unique features, exploits, the XP table, maybe natural 19 effects. That's probably about it. That's probably about it. Alright, so that's going to wrap us up for Tales of Argosa. I keep saying that I'm kind of done with solo RPGs for a while, and then I keep going. I actually said I was done with them like 2 weeks ago, and then I just kept recording more and more stuff. So I don't know if I am done, but I'm also not sure what I would do next, so I really have no idea. Don't think there's any other systems that I'm like, oh yeah, I really want to try that. At least in the fantasy realm. And I'm not ready to do anything that's not fantasy solo. So I don't think there's anything else that's been on my radar. The only one that's coming soon on my radar that I want to look at is Draw Steel. But I still have no idea when that's actually releasing. Apparently it's content complete. But that, you know, who knows? Content complete and actually getting it out there to people's hands. Because that just means that they have all the content they want. Now they have to, like, play test everything for hundreds of hours and stuff. So I don't know. But that one's the only other one on my radar currently. So if I was going to do anything more with solo right now, it'd probably be going back to Shadow Dark and maybe hacking Shadow Dark some more. I don't know, at a certain point I feel like I'd hack Shadow Dark just into an entirely different game. And then there's probably some other game that I'm not aware of that just does all the things I want that to do. The only other one that I hear a lot of people saying that just is like the best OSR game that just needs a lot more love is Swords and Wizardry. Swords and Wizardry Complete. But I don't know, I looked at it and it just seems like kind of like every other OSR game, just kind of based on BX D&D or something like that. I guess it has like the basic D&D game loop, but AD&D player options, which is kind of appealing, but I don't know, it still might be a bit too close to OSE for me. I don't know, I might look at it a little bit on my own, but I doubt it'll end up being something I want to do videos on. Shadow Dark hits a lot of the right notes for me. So, yeah, I don't know, maybe we'll spend a little time hacking Shadow Dark. The main thing that I'd be interested in Shadow Dark as like a player is more options for characters, because I'm a big sucker for that. But I think that goes against a lot of the spirit of it, so I'm not sure if there's even a good point to do that. But like I would say Tales of Argosa has more has more options for your characters, right? And if we compare a fighter here to the other one, Shadow Dark, you get Deadly Strikes, which isn't an option, but it just, you know, your crit range is expanded, which I don't think is an option, a talent option. Let's see here. Fighter. No, there's no expanded crit range. They're all pretty basic, like +1 to melee and ranged, or +1 AC from armor, +2 strength. Pretty simple. But I do think that expanded crit range is very fun. And the natural 19 effect occurring on a crit. I think that just makes you feel more like a badass in combat. So I do like that a lot. But then the actual choice, which isn't a fucking choice because you have to roll randomly, but okay, kind of a choice. The adaptable concept. I do think it's pretty fun, even though I barely interacted with it because I kept forgetting that I have Charger. So that's a bummer. But that's also me juggling 4 characters and DMing, so if all you have is your fighter and he can do Charger, you're probably going to remember it. So I think these are pretty good, but it's like how adapting that to Shadow Dark, throwing that into Shadow Dark as written. Like this is a whole page of this book dedicated to one ability. Like Shadow Dark is completely against that concept. So you'd have to somehow shrink this whole thing down to like a paragraph of just being adaptable, you know, and you can like switch your combat style or something, but it's like there's just no way because there's so many kind of unique effects here. Charger is a very unique thing compared to just gaining advantage when rolling damage. So really you're looking like you're making a whole new RPG then called Shadow Dark Expanded, which is an entirely different thing, will not be anywhere near as popular. You know, I mean, you wouldn't really publish this, obviously, but well, you could publish it, I suppose, but yeah, it's not going to be anywhere near as popular, and kind of loses a lot of what makes Shadow Dark popular. But again, I'm a sucker for player options and expanded stuff, so I don't know. One of the big things, the issues that I see with Shadow Dark is just how kind of limited and small scale it is for like an ongoing campaign and stuff. It's very much like basic D&D. And I, as a player, sort of like shy away from that whole concept compared to like Shadow of the Weird Wizard, where I have just, oh my god, look how many options I have, and there's so much complexity, and I love it, and I love it. And I just want to make character after character. Here, you don't really want to make character after character, because what's the point? There's no real options here. So, I don't know. So, I would just say, yeah, from like a crunchy kind of character design, class design standpoint, I prefer something more like Tales of Argosa to Shadow Dark. Even though I recognize that that's not what Shadow Dark is. I think you could pretty easily incorporate the unique feature aspect into Shadow Dark. Because literally just like, okay, at level 4, you know, every character gets a unique feature. Done. I mean, just, that's it. That's all you have to put. We know what that means. Well, I know what that means. So I think that's pretty good, but actually making, like, complicated classes and stuff, I don't know. I do have a... I kind of want to end this video, but we're going on 3 hours now. I do have a supplement here for Shadow Dark that has expanded talents. And I haven't ever actually used any of these. But this is meant to give way more options to all the starting characters and stuff. So here's the expanded list for clerics. That does include like different abilities and unique abilities. So Faith Healer, you can cure 1d6 for anyone who possesses the same deity as you, once per day for each person. Divine Favor. To perform a miracle equivalent to any cleric spell of any tier. But you have to roll for the, with the tier involved. Again, I don't think any of these are like massively complicated or anything. But the idea is just, okay, here's an expansion of the classes to have a little bit more customization, even though it is random talents, which I'm not crazy about. But I think this is more in line with Shadow Dark as intended, which isn't meant to be bogged down with all these choices. And there's no real choices here. It's just some more options that could pop up. So, I don't know. I think this is pretty fine. It's not really what I'm looking for. Yeah. So I don't know. But it might be interesting to just sit down and record a video where it's like, okay, if I was going to change Shadow Dark to be something that I really am excited to play and DM, what would we do? What would we add? What would we change? Might be interesting to do that, so I don't know. But for now, my name is Mang. This has been Solo Roll Manging Tales of Argosa. I'll see you fine folks around.